What's up again there, guys? Brian here at 3 here, and I got a pretty odd video to share with you guys today. Honestly, this video just kind of popped into my head. I was just filming a couple of videos today, and I thought, what's something I haven't done in a while? And I thought, you know what? I haven't shown you guys my entire video game collection. This was not requested by anyone. This was just something that just came out of the blue. I just thought it'd be interesting to share. Because now that 2018 is here and I have a new slew of games I'll be purchasing all year to add to this collection, I might as well show you just how I say pretty good my collection of games is right now. Before I begin, I just want to give you guys a warning that I might go over a certain game a couple times because I technically have like two boxes for it, because I'll have like a game in like a regular plastic box, then I'll have one in a steel box because some collections just come with both, so just not to confuse you guys. So starting off real simple with the first game just at random. I'm just going to go over each game and just share my quick thoughts on it. And that is Ratchet & Clank, the game based off a movie which is based off a game. Pretty damn good game. I know I gave this a very, very high score. I absolutely loved it. I'm a big Ratchet & Clank fan. Really enjoyed the movie even though it bombed in theaters. If you haven't played this, this is absolutely a must-do if you have a PlayStation 4, or if you're a PlayStation fan in general. Next is Killzone Shadowfall. This is actually one of the debut games that came with the PlayStation 4 when it first released. I remember it being pretty good. Definitely not the best in the franchise. I think that place is held for Killzone 2, but you know, pretty good game. Next is Horizon Zero Dawn. My favorite game, best game, game of the year of 2017. I hated that it got snubbed at the Game of Year at the Game Awards last year. I don't know why. This is an incredible game. Definitely, if not one of the, if not definitely in the top 3 best PlayStation 4 game exclusive games I've played this generation by far. Incredible game. This is probably the quintessential must-own game if you're a PlayStation fan. Next is Nier Automata. Very awesome action game. Very cool visual style. Great action. Great music. Very, very compelling story with multiple different endings which might throw you for a loop. Definitely pick this up or try it out if you haven't already. Next on my list is Deus Ex Mankind Divided. It was okay. This game had a decent amount of hype, but as soon as the game came, the hype kind of died out. I didn't think it was a bad game. It definitely had a couple of technical problems, but overall I think it was okay. Next is Titanfall 2. I never got a chance to play the first Titanfall, but I'm happy I picked up Titanfall 2 because I actually got the Vanguard edition that actually came with the fully sized helmet for the pilot, which I still have is upstairs. Maybe I'll wear it again one day or not if you guys would like to see that. But maybe this is somewhat underrated. I've heard that they might do a Titanfall 3, but I heard this underperformed, which really sucks. Because I really, really enjoyed this game. This was actually one of the few games that came out around that time period that I think had a really, really great campaign, and then a very, very entertaining multiplayer, which I was very, very addicted to, and even kind of jump on every once in a while when I have time. But yeah, definitely a great game. Next is Assassin's Creed 4, Black Flag. My favorite Assassin's Creed game of all time. Edward is a badass. Very cool story. I love being a pirate. This is kind of a build off of the ship combat that they built in Assassin's Creed 3, so they kind of built the whole game around that for the most part, and I think it was a pretty incredible success in my opinion. I know that some people will prefer Assassin's Creed 2 or a couple other ones, but this is my favorite Assassin's Creed game of all time. Next is Assassin's Creed the Ezio Collection, which comes with all 3 games in the Ezio trilogy. You know, great game. Ezio is my favorite assassin of all time, and Assassin's Creed 2 was really the game that made me a fan of Assassin's Creed, even though I didn't really like the first game all that much. But yeah, I mean, if you're an Ezio fan, obviously you're going to have this game. Next is probably a very interesting demo, and that is Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zero, which is basically just a glorified demo. Now, for those of you who have actually been watching my channel long enough, the funny story about this game is that I actually did not open this game at all. I left it in the wrapper until about a week before Phantom Pain came out, and that ended up being a serious mistake because I ended up absolutely hating the Phantom Pain and thinking it's one of the worst video games I've ever played, and to me, brought an end to the Metal Gear Solid franchise permanently, which I think it died, you know, maybe a game before Phantom Pain came out. But yeah, I haven't really even touched this since. So yeah. Next is Infamous Second Son. Don't think it's as good as Infamous 2. Definitely think it's better than Infamous 1. I think Delsin is a pretty damn good character. Not as cool as Cole, though. But, you know, who knows? Maybe maybe Sucker Punch will eventually give us another Infamous game as soon as they're done with their next Samurai game. So, yeah, pretty decent game. Next, God of War 3 Remastered. Favorite hack and slash game of all time. Favorite God of War game of all time. Who knows what will happen when the next God of War game comes out, but I had this on PlayStation 3. I had to buy it all over again, and it was just as awesome playing it the 15th time, because I've beaten this game so many times on the PlayStation 4, just as I did on the PlayStation 3, so definitely a must-own for me. Next is Attack on Titan. Big fan of the anime. Can't wait to pick up the sequel, which comes out later this year. The combat was absolutely perfect. I kind of wish they would have had an English dub, but I didn't have any problems with the with the English subtitles because of the Japanese voices. Hopefully they add a couple more game mechanics. Definitely expecting to see a couple more characters, maybe a couple things added in terms of story. Maybe we might even see some things added from a later season, just like they did in this game. But if you're a fan of Attack on Titan, this is an absolutely must-own game. Next is Mad Max. I'm not sure if this is connected to the most recent movie, but this isn't necessarily tied in with the film, but I think this is a perfect example of a game being able to stand on its own, because this is actually a pretty well done game. It's got some really great game mechanics. I think it's got a pretty damn interesting story. I think the combat is superb, and I think kind of the whole element of needing to take over certain territories, I think, is one of the best aspects that this game provides, because it does take a lot of time to conquer each specific area, but I think it's worth it because it gives you a lot of benefits that really make the game a lot easier as you progress through the game. So this is, if you haven't had a chance to play this, or you're just curious, I really enjoyed it. Next is Final Fantasy Type 0 HD. Really, I'll be honest, I only bought this game because of the demo for $15 at the time. I never finished this game. Never finished it. I don't know, just lost interest in it. I mean, I do recall playing it a while when it first came out, but I don't know, after that I just kind of got bored of it, and yeah, I don't really have too much to say about this one. Next is Final Fantasy X and X-2. Favorite Final Fantasy game of all time. I mean, not necessarily X-2, but great package. Definitely one of the top 10 greatest games I've ever played. It would definitely stay on that list even today. I've beaten this game more times than any other Final Fantasy game, and I will probably say it's probably within the top 5 games that I've beaten the most amount of times out of any game. I know that some people have its problems with 10. Tidus is not necessarily my favorite protagonist, but I absolutely love the story around it. It has my favorite gameplay system. It has my favorite progression system. I love playing Blitzball. The music is phenomenal. I even liked how they even gave you the option to be able to hear the original soundtrack as well as the much updated remastered version of the soundtrack. Definitely one of the all-time greatest Final Fantasies of all time. If the PlayStation 5 ever comes out, or when it eventually comes out, and they decide they want to re-release this again on the PlayStation 5, you can bet your ass I'm going to buy it again. I bought it for PlayStation 2, I bought it for PlayStation 3, I bought it for PlayStation 4, and I will be more than happy to buy it for PlayStation 5. Next is Rise of the Tomb Raider, the 20th year celebration. I absolutely loved the first Tomb Raider game. It was the game that made me a Tomb Raider fan. I was never a fan of Lara Croft until that game came out. So obviously I was pumped up for the sequel. I love the sequel. I know what I said this a while back when this first came out, and I stand by this statement, but I did enjoy playing this a little bit more than playing Uncharted 4. I'm actually a little bit more of a fan of the Tomb Raider games than I am the Uncharted games, even though the Uncharted games are incredible games too. So don't think I'm hating on Nathan Drake and Uncharted. Though still incredible games. But if I had to pick between those two, I would definitely stick with this, just because it has a little bit more, and I think Lara Croft is slightly a little bit more interesting character than Nathan Drake. But heck, that's just me. Next on the list is Batman Arkham Knight. Great starts, great, decent closing for the Arkham franchise. I mean, I don't even think that's going to be the official ending, because I've heard that they might do another one. But I think that a lot of the problems I've heard a lot of people complain about, I certainly didn't have a lot of problems with it. Definitely, I think it has the most to do. It's definitely the biggest one. I love driving the Batmobile. I definitely thought the story was very interesting, especially with the connections between Batman and a dead Joker. I thought the twist was excellent. I thought the ending was a great way to send off the Dark Knight in this type of storyline. But it does have its flaws, but still a great game. Next on the list is, oh god, Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. Don't want to talk about this. You know how I feel. So, on to the next game. Next is Mortal Kombat 10. I'm a Mortal Kombat person, not a Street Fighter person. This game was a great follow-up to Mortal Kombat 9, which came out on the PlayStation 3. Continued, like the story, like the new additions to the characters. It is a great continuation to Mortal Kombat 9, which I would say is still my favorite Mortal Kombat game. They definitely took a couple of elements out that I wish they would have kept in this game, but I don't really have any more positive things to say because it's just another awesome Mortal Kombat game. Hopefully, in the next generation, we'll get another Mortal Kombat game, and that'll be just as awesome too. Next is basically as I stated at the beginning of the video, the steel case for Arkham Knight. So don't got anything to say about that. But I do have something to say about this because it is Injustice 2, another great fighting game from NetherRealm Studios. These guys know how to do a fighting game and they know how to handle the DC Cinematic Universe better than this DC Cinematic Universe that Warner Brothers ever could. If you guys want to see a real cool Warner Brothers superhero film done properly, outside of Wonder Woman, because I don't like Wonder Woman, this is what you need. I mean, heck, you can just watch the cutscenes and you will get one hell of a DC cinematic characters movie. Awesome gameplay, awesome action. I think the story was a little bit dry towards the end, but I didn't think that hurt the game overall. Excellent game. Excellent follow-up to it. Another previous game. Next is Final Fantasy 15. Great Final Fantasy game. Brought the franchise back on track after that abomination of the 13 trilogy, which I still avoid like the goddamn plague. This by far has some of the best gameplay elements of any Final Fantasy game, even in some cases a little bit more than even 10. I think the story did kind of fall apart near the end, and I have had a chance to play all the extra episodes that came with the season pass. I have no plans of buying the second season pass because this game has been out for so long. I don't really think I need to keep playing it more. I think I'm fine with the content that it came with at release and the extra episodes. But still, definitely a great addition to the Final Fantasy lore. Next, probably one of the most disappointing games ever made, and that is No Man's Sky. Yeah, I bought into the hype too and was sorely disappointed when I realized that it was just kind of boring after about 3 hours when you kept going to all these different planets and scanning stuff and having to get new minerals, and you had to recharge your life support, and then you had to get fuel, and it was just a constant chain of doing this over and over again. And then I didn't even finish this game, and I looked at how the game ends, and I'm so glad I did not finish this game because I would have been pissed off because it is not worth the trouble. Still one of the most disappointing video games of all time, without question. And now I have the steel case for Metal Gear Solid 5. I want to talk about it. But I do want to talk about this game, which is Uncharted 4. Great send-off, great conclusion to the Uncharted franchise. I really hope they don't bring it back for some time. Excellent game. Definitely one of the all-time greatest exclusives for the PlayStation 4 at its time. Nathan Drake, still one of the greatest characters that we've had in the Sony brand. And again, just one of the best ways to send off a character and leave room for another great franchise to begin, which is a game I already talked about before in Horizon Zero Dawn. I think that when we lost Uncharted, that Horizon was a good replacement. So it works out, in my opinion. Next is a game that's somewhat disappointing, but I enjoyed it for the most part, but I know that some people were really disappointed, and that is The Order 1886. Now, this game has incredible visuals, just incredible visuals, very solid gameplay, very, very disappointing story, and very, very just repetitively stupid boss fights. Very disappointed. I have no idea how the hell they got away with this. It was legitimately the same boss fight 3 times. Don't know who thought about this, and I don't even know if we're going to get a sequel because they absolutely left it open for a sequel. But I wouldn't mind a sequel as long as they fix these problems. But you know, who knows what will happen. Down to the last pile, we have here Kingdom Hearts HD 2.8. Love Kingdom Hearts. Can't wait to get my hands on the 3rd one if it officially comes out this year. So, yeah, 3 games. It comes with Dream Drop Distance, which I never finished. Birth by Sleep 0.2, which I did finish, which, if that's what the combat system for Kingdom Hearts 3 is going to be like, I think it's going to be pretty cool. And it also comes with Kingdom Hearts X back cover, which is still really confusing to me, and even confusing to people who are big fans of the Kingdom Hearts franchise. But overall, I think it's well worth the money, especially if I get to play Kingdom Hearts 2, which is my favorite entry in the franchise. Next, we have Deadpool. Deadpool's awesome. Love the movie. Love the game. Awesome character. They all work in perfect harmony with each other. I don't think I've seen one thing about Deadpool in the last number of years I thought sucked. This was a great representation of the character and how it was handled. Anyone who loves Deadpool, a must-own game. Next, I got Mass Effect Andromeda. Some people hated this game last year, and while I'd certainly had problems, overall, I'm on the fence about this one. It definitely has my favorite gameplay style of any Mass Effect, but the story is not quite as focused. There's a serious lack of alien races. I think they only introduced like 2, and it had a lot of technical issues. A lot that even broke the game. Crashes, bugs, frame rate issues. I mean, this game was full of it. This game was clearly released too early, and I think in terms of the script and story that they were trying to tell, it just was not, it was not focused as much as it should have been. There's definitely a great concept. There's a lot of great things in this game. I just don't think they were executed well enough. And it's possible that this game has brought an end to the Mass Effect series, which I hope that is not true, because I would like to see it continue, because I love the Mass Effect trilogy. And there's some good elements here, but I just hope they have another chance in the proper studio and the pros get to work on the sequel to this, or maybe another follow-up. Next is Wolfenstein: The New Order. This is a perfect example of taking a classic game and bringing it into the modern era. This was awesome when it first came out. I thought it was one of the best of its kind, and that's equally said to the next game, which is also Doom. Both of them pretty much did the exact same thing. They brought a classic game which has kind of a similar gameplay style. I mean, there are definitely some differences, but they brought them into the modern era. They made it work. It was badass. It was awesome. I think that obviously Wolfenstein had the better story, along with a second Colossus, which I think might be somewhere in here. But you know, Doom did its job. These are both very, very great shooters. Next is Destiny 2, which I also bought into the hype, and I don't know, maybe I'll pop this in every once in a while, just see what's going on. But I tell you this much, I am not paying any more money for any DLC content, so I'm kind of pissed off that there's a lot of things I can't do, which pisses me off, which isn't really quite how I would describe its predecessor, which is Destiny 1, which, you know, I'm so pissed off that I couldn't bring a lot of the stuff in here into this game. I really would have enjoyed that. But if I had to pick which one is better in its current state, I would definitely say that Destiny 1 finished is better than Destiny 2 in the current state it's in. But maybe that might change when all the content for Destiny 2 gets released. Next, I have The Evil Within 2. Love the first Evil Within on the PlayStation 3. The creators of the original Resident Evil. I think it actually brought the series back to its roots. And I think that this does it too, but it has a much more open world setting, which I actually really appreciate. And I think the story was far more personal. I think it's definitely a step up from the original. And I think the survival horror aspect was definitely cranked up to a whole another level, because this was a lot harder than the first game. And I did require me to be a lot more reserved my resources than I did in the first game. With the first game, at some point, I felt I had plenty of ammunition and health packs and all that kind of stuff. But in this one, I was very, very scarce throughout the whole game, which kind of kept me on edge from beginning to end. So I think that is a serious plus in the game's favor. Next is Resident Evil 6. I don't give a damn what any of you people say. I enjoyed Resident Evil 6. When it comes to Resident Evil, I like, when it comes to the fandomism, or the fan base of Resident Evil, I always consider that there are two types of fans. There is what I call a Generation 1 Resident Evil fan and a Generation 2 Resident Evil fan. I would consider myself a Resident Evil 2 fan, because the first game I played in the Resident Evil series was Resident Evil 4, and I played 5 and 6, which are definitely much more action focused, and I'm more of an action person. I tried playing some of the original ones. I couldn't do it unless I had to do it for research. I don't really like playing the original Resident Evil games, but I don't mind playing 6. In my opinion, it had by far the best gameplay. I like how it had multiple different styles. I wasn't a big fan of Chris's campaign, but Leon's campaign with Helena is exactly what I would want a Resident Evil 2 remake to be like. If that game ever comes out, because I've heard they've been trying to make it, that is how I want. That is the gameplay for Leon's campaign is exactly what I want it to be. If they can pull that off and get away from how they did it in Resident Evil 7, which was more of a first-person shooter game, which I personally didn't play and I don't have any intentions on playing, then I will be pumped up to go pick it up. But if they decide to do that whole first-person shooter thing again, then I'm not interested. But I enjoyed Resident Evil 6. I don't care what anyone says. Next is Resident Evil 2 Revelations, or should I say Resident Evil Revelations 2. Another great game. It has similar style to Resident Evil 6 and Resident Evil 5 and Resident Evil 4. I think it's a little bit more action-based, but I definitely think the horror aspect is much more present in this game than it was in Revelations 2. I like how it had the return of Barry Burton, and we got to play as his daughter, which was cool. It was nice seeing Claire return and take a much more proactive approach to her character than we've seen in previous games. So overall, I think that Revelations 2 is definitely a step up from Revelations 1, and definitely one of the better Resident Evil games that I've played in this newest generation of Resident Evil games. We're almost done, guys, so don't stay with me. Next is, actually I don't need to talk about this one because it's just Wolfenstein: The New Colossus, so don't got much to say about that, but heck, it's another great game that follows up from The New Order. But we do have, don't gotta talk about this one because, again, it's just Mortal Kombat 10, but just a plastic case. Next is well, I gotta say, this is gonna save a lot of time. Basically, all this is Just Dance 2014, Just Dance 2015, Just Dance 2016, Just Dance 2017, and I haven't had a chance to pick up 2018, but I'm sure you guys can guess, I really like playing Just Dance. In fact, my most popular video, which has well over like 25 million views, is like a demo video I did of me dancing to Ghostbusters. That video was still super popular. I have no idea why. I wouldn't mind uploading some more Just Dance videos if you guys would like to see. But yeah, I will definitely be picking up Just Dance 2018. So if you would like to see me do more Just Dance videos, just let me know, and I'll try to get this up as soon as I can. The last two games we have here is Persona 5. Definitely one of the best JRPG games I played last year. I think this would have been ranked number 2 as the second best game I played last year. This is my introduction to Persona. I had never even heard of Persona until this game, and now I'm really curious if I want to go back and play the other Persona games. So if you really like this game, and the previous Personas are like this, please let me know in the comment section, because I really would like to test this out to see if they're as good as this game, because this game was phenomenal. Great combat, great story, great gameplay elements outside of combat, great exploration, awesome, incredible soundtrack, some of the best music I've seen exclusive to a JRPG since probably Final Fantasy X, or should I say Final Fantasy X and X-2. So yeah, love Persona 5. And the last game I have is South Park: The Fractured Butthole. solid follow-up to the Stick of Truth. I didn't think it was as good story-wise as the Stick of Truth, but I definitely think the gameplay was a step in the right direction. Solid, challenging, a lot of the crazy humor that you would expect in the South Park episode, and hopefully we will get a third, and who knows what genre we will be tackling into. So, that is my entire PlayStation 4 collection as of the beginning of 2018. Now, I would like to know which game from my collection is your favorite. Let me know in the comments down below. And if you like this video, feel free to like, comment down below, and please subscribe to check my future videos. And like always, thank you guys for watching. You're awesome, and I will see you next time.